Oops, I did that right. I want to talk today a little bit about left right hemispheres of the brain and kind of integrating. The other day, we were talking about skillful means of being able to maintain positivity and what kind of gets in the way, what kind of helps. And we all have these things. We all have days where we're kind of miserable, and then we have days where we're feeling pretty good, right? And I think learning to balance the hemispheres of your brain is just yet another one of the skills that we can integrate into our practice to help us feel balanced and give us that sense of wholeness and peacefulness. So no problem, Steve. I see that. So one of the things, if you're unfamiliar, the left side of the brain, typically it's not always the case, but the left side of the brain controls the right hemisphere, and the right side of the brain controls the left hemisphere of the body. But really, that's not entirely true. The brain is obviously incredibly complex. But one of the things that the left hemisphere is typically, much more linear based, where we're systems thinking, and we can analyze like past, present, future. We can put things in boxes. We can organize. We can judge. We can have this sense of being able to really. It's a very good functional part of our brain that we need for working through our day and analyzing. And then the right side of the brain, the right hemisphere of the brain, is typically sees the world as more whole. It's less about breaking things apart and more about putting things together. There's a lot of creativity, and kind of like making meaning out of experiences. There's a lot of really good things that happen in both sides of the brain, and we need both sides of the brain in order to really function well. So throughout the day, we typically, kind of shift dominance. And one of the ways you can tell this is with alternate nostril breathing. So, you know how sometimes you go into Nadi Shoshana and one nostril is more closed off than the other nostril. And typically when one side is open, you're kind of living in the opposite side of the brain, and vice versa. So the ancient yogis, talked about the Ida and Pingala. So these are the two energy channels in the body that kind of weave around the main channels through your spine, and they cross the midline, and then they come and find balance. Um, so when we do alternate nostril breathing, we are trying to balance this sun and moon, this Ida and Pingala and energy meridians, and find that central sense of wholeness and completeness where we're balanced. So we're going to do some breath work that can help with that, but also the things that can really help us balance the two hemispheres of our brain, besides breathing exercises, is doing things that cross the midline. So anytime we cross a limb past the midline to the other side, we have a lot of capacity to kind of use both sides of our brain. And then also unusual movements, things, if you do something that you're not very familiar with, that also can be very helpful. And then besides crossing the midline, using oppositionals. So like your left arm and your right leg, doing something with them, so, which we do in yoga all the time. So these are some of the things that you can do to help you in your yoga practice to have that sense of balance. And everybody knows the feeling of going for a walk, or I feel this when I swim a lot, that just left, right, constancy, where it's a rhythm in your body, where it's not something that you have to really think about too much. Like we don't have to think about walking, thankfully, unless you've had an injury to your brain or to your body, where you can't find that rhythm naturally. But when we walk or do any kind of movement that is, left right hemispheres of the body, we come into that harmony inside of our brain too. So if you're feeling stressed and you need some balance, some of the best things you can do is just go for a walk. Very simply. I mean, how many times have you been on a walk and suddenly creative processes start flowing, or solutions to a problem you've been having start coming, or you let go of something that's been bothering you, without even really having to put much thought to it. So this is the beauty of that cross lateral work in the body. Okay, so let's sit up straight and tall and take a moment to ground yourself. So, um, whatever's been going on, I know the world is so stressful right now. It seems like it's always so stressful, but particularly with all that is going on, Let's see if we can take refuge in our practice. So find a comfortable seat, sit up straight and tall, and drop some weight into your pelvis. Now, depending on how you're sitting, if you're cross-legged, you're already doing something crisscross in the body. So notice if you can have even weight, even grounding through both sides of the pelvis. Can you feel your sit bones grounding at the same time? There's something really comforting about seeking the midline and feeling symmetry. And this brings us into that state of wholeness. So let's feel the groundedness of the center pelvis and the rise of the spine. See if you can travel upward right to the crown of your head, taking away any tension or strain along the way. Let's first just feel our two halves and how, we're not symmetrical left and right, but we do have a lot of things that are, a little bit symmetrical. Like maybe your vision isn't the same in both eyes, but you have two eyes. So let's feel this mirroring first. Our two eyes, the bones in our skull that match left and right, our two ears, a sense of symmetry across your cheekbones, your nostrils, two jaw joints, left and right, the center of your palate, both upper and lower, the center line of your throat, your trachea, and branching outward to symmetry or somewhat symmetrical shoulders, two arms, two hands, two collarbones, two shoulder blades. Our lungs are not balanced left and right, but we do have lungs on left and right. So see if you can experience the breath. So it's curious to me that we have one extra lobe on one side versus the other. And here's where things get a little muddled. So our organs inside are not very symmetrical, but your spine follows the midline. So travel down the midline of your spine. Drop into the center of the pelvis, feeling the symmetry of your sacrum, where your two bits of your hip join at the pubic symphysis, your pelvic bones join at your pubic symphysis, the side joints, hip joints, two legs, all the way down to 2 feet. So even though there is a semblance of symmetry, there's also a lot of asymmetry. So let's come into some alternate nostril breathing now. So right thumb on right nostril, high up where the nostril begins. Left ring or right ring finger on left nostril, high up where the nostril begins. Take care to stay in the midline of your spine. Lift your heart a bit. Drop your chin a bit. Doesn't have to be anything hard and pinchy. And let's begin by breathing through the left side of your nose. Air things out. So feel the breath travel through the chambers of your sinuses, maybe even the sense that it moves through your skull, even though it really doesn't. When you're ready, close off that left nostril with your right ring finger and travel outward through the right nostril. So grab a tissue if you need it. Notice when we do this. So always you're going out a nostril, then in the same nostril, and then you switch sides. So out, in, and switch. Everybody's pace is their own pace. Feel the swirling in your sinuses. Take notice of which nostril might be more open. Do you have balance? Is one totally stuck? Is one totally open? Where are you in that spectrum? Can you relax the base of your skull? Can you feel that you're staying in the midline of the body so we're not turning our head to the right or dropping our right ear down? Collarbones are broadening. You still have a grounded, comfortable seat as you're breathing. Slow things down. Feel the breath move through the chambers. And the sinuses are so cavernous. There's multiple layers and lots of little nooks and crannies. So feel the cathedral that's inside of your sinuses. Energetically, what does it feel like to breathe in and to breathe out? Is this calming to you? Is it stressful to you? How do you feel? So sense not only the physical sensations of alternate nostril breathing, but the emotional sensations that come with breath manipulation as well. Take a break if you need. And thankfully, we are built with two redundancies to breathe. So if you're totally clogged up and you can't breathe through your nose, just breathe through your mouth. Right, so let's end this breaths, whatever you're doing, finish breathing out through the left nostril. So we kind of make a full cycle, breathing out where we started. And once you get there, so no rush, just follow the rhythm. Once you get there, breathe through both sides of the nose and enjoy all the space that your sinuses have. Can you feel that sense of balance between the two hemispheres? Center yourself into your third eye. Place your palms together at your heart. This is just a mudra of deep centering. No matter where you put your hands, whether they're up at your forehead, at your lips, down at your heart, in your throat, wherever is intuitive for you to land. Can you feel the hands touch each other and seek the midline? Use this centering, focused, grounding whole place to offer an intention for yourself. And then release the hands. And let's come on to our back. Okay, let's start our physical practice. So just notice with the breath work, it's so easy. 5 minutes of breath work. It's not a very complicated or long-term thing to add a little pranayama into your day. Okay, so let's find our way. Come on to your back. Stretch your limbs. Okay. Right arm, left arm, and already we can start doing some oppositional work with our body as we reach into the left side and reach to lengthen the right side. Notice your connection and that kind of rhythm that can move through as you switch your focus to opening one side, opening the other side, letting the hips shift, one higher, one lower, feeling your hands, your shoulders shift, one high, one low. All right, and then relax and bring your knees into your chest. And rocking, such a beautiful example of to and fro, left, right. So just see what it feels like to be soothed. Let your brain slosh left and right. Let this be very gentle and easy. All right, and then draw the knees into the chest and pull your knees away from the midline and back in. So what's the trajectory of movement for your hips today? Do you kind of circle? Are you, just rhythmically moving in and out? What is comfortable? What's the natural flow of movement away from the midline and toward the midline with your knees? Circles, semicircles, whatever feels good to you. All right, and then switch this right knee into the chest, roll around your ankles, wake up your feet a little bit, get your feet turned on. All right, and then switch left knee in and feel your feet turn on. Maybe go the other direction with circling your ankles or wiggling your toes in a different way. All right, now just to warm up a little core and a little bit of cross hemisphere work, we're going to switch left and right. So right knee in, grab with two hands, then left knee in. And actually to increase this measure, switch your finger placement. So put the weird finger placement in place and then back and forth. Grabbing right knee, grabbing left knee. Take your time. You do not have to do this rapid fire. Make sure you're breathing. Feel both compression and extension. Your core is turning on. Notice the spine. Have your breath here. All right, and then go ahead and relax your limbs all the way out to a starfish. Stretch away from the midline. So maybe take your arms and your legs a little wider apart than you naturally do in this posture. Wiggle your fingers and toes. And then exhaling, curl in on yourself, feeling yourself fold into the midline of the body. One more time, expanding outward. Exhale, drawing in. Release your feet down onto the ground. All right, just a little bit more to wake up the core here. So we're going to bend our knees, kind of like a reverse tabletop. Your knees can be as close to your chest or as far away as you're supportive for your back. You want your knees to not go past your hips, okay? So over your hips or forward, whatever's comfortable. We're gonna take our knees apart from each other. Bring your fingertips to touch your outer thighs or your knees, wherever they naturally go. And we're gonna circle the feet, okay? So keeping the hips and knees in the same place. And we're just concentric circles with our shins, okay? Point your toes, see if you can touch your toes. For me, I'm doing this, my right foot is in a counterclockwise circle and my left foot is in a clockwise circle. So this should feel very natural to be able to circle the feet in toward each other. Start to turn on the core. Now go the other direction with your circles. I find this harder. I don't know about you. So now I'm going clockwise with my right foot and counterclockwise with my left. Try not to let your hips, you don't want your knees going in and out. You want to keep your knees on the same plane. And then legs straight up in the air, arms straight up in the air. Find your breath and stabilize your core. And then release your knees. Put your feet down onto the ground. We're going to need the core for a variety of things we are going to do today. So having it warmed up is a good thing. Feet are wider than hips and just windshield wiper left and right. So simple things like this is crossing the hemispheres of the body. Our knees are going past the midline. So just feel into what this does for your brain. Can you let your breath be steady and full? And then roll over. If you always roll to your right, try rolling to your left. Taking pathways that are a little less familiar in the body. Oftentimes I tell you to bring the other foot back when you're stepping back to dog pose or a plank. Little things like that can make a big difference when we don't just do our habit. So come on to all fours. Find some movement in some cat-cow. So whatever feels good to you. Place your hands and your shins well and start to move the spine. So when we come into symmetry, enjoy. It's restful for the brain to be in symmetry. So feel into that as you round the spine, as you arch the spine. Pay attention to how that feels to be doing something balanced bilaterally. And then let's start moving any way you want. So you can swish your hips left and right. You can do some circles. You can move your shoulders around. So, let your body be fluid and move the spine. Isn't it beautiful that we have so much capacity to move in lots of different ways? All right, and then stretch back towards child's pose. Drop deep weight. So anterior tilt pelvis. Lift the hips up or lift the sit bones up and then drop back. So there's deep compression in the hip joints, the knee joints. Just go as far as your body will allow. Walk the hands out in front of you, inch, inch. Deep breath. Walk the hands over to the left side of the mat. And as you come into this, we're already moving off the midline plane. So feel the stretch of the body. And inch over to the other side and feel the stretch in the body. How's the breath? Center the third eye. See if you can bring your focus. There's lots of little ways to keep you attached or centered on the midline to balance that left and right hemispheres. Come back to center. You can open or closed eyes. You can focus on the third eye. You can put your tongue right behind your teeth or on the roof of your mouth. You can center on the heart space. There's lots of centering places in the body. Curl the toes under and reach up into dog pose. Pedal out your feet. Feel some weight ground into one hand and then ground into the other hand. Kind of rock back and forth from the left side to the right side. Maybe you want to move your hips or your shoulders or your neck. Warm things up. Spread your bones out. So once you're settled, and you're like, oh yeah, I know this pose. I'm here now. Feel your midline. Feel the third eye. Feel breath moving through both sides of your nose, filling both sinuses. Maybe touch the tongue to the top of or behind the teeth, the roof of the mouth somewhere. Feel into the bilateral breath. Even weight in left and right foot, even weight in left and right hand. And then walk your feet forward and come into Uttanasana. Still, all these symmetrical things, can you feel their harmony, their symmetry? Inhale, halfway lift, sit bones high and wide. Exhale and melt and fold back down. Push off the feet, rise up, bring the arms to the sky, open the chest, lean back, stretch open the heart, cactus the arms if you want, and then seek the midline. Palms come to each other. Ground yourself in this centered body. Now we're going to move away from it a fair amount in the practice, so let's just use the beginning of our practice here to feel the center. Even weight through your 2 feet. Even breath. Inhale, rise up. Open the chest again. Exhale, bend your knees. Float forward. Which foot do you always take back? Take the other one back. Come into a plank. Hold yourself steady. Seek the midline again. How's the breath? Can you move away from the midline and come back toward the midline? Center the mind. Use little places. Maybe the hands hug toward the midline. Maybe you feel the heart space. Maybe the inner thighs toward the midline. All right, put your knees down. Come down to the ground. Roll the shoulders a few times. Let's turn on the muscles of the back. Inhale, rise up, cobra pose. Exhale, and melt back down. One more time, rising up, and then exhale, and come back down. Up onto all fours, maybe pick up your feet and swish your feet left and right, maybe just your hips move left and right. And now let's come onto all fours, put your feet back down. Right leg stretches back behind you, left arm out in front of you. Our first kind of cross lateral movement. the core is so necessary here. So this deep transverse abdominis, this deep abdominal muscle that hugs and wraps our spine is so vital. Feel the back and front body support. Find your breath. Exhale, elbow and knee come underneath you. Inhale, take your elbow and knee out to the side, cactus. Exhale, elbow and knee in. Inhale, long. Arm and leg stretched out. Exhale. Each one more time. Cactus out to the sides. Find your center. Back into the midline. Inhale, reach long. Exhale, hand and knee come down. Switch sides. So now, your brain's a little turned on. It knows where we're going. Stretch that arm and leg out. Notice your patterns. Are you stronger in this pattern of the body? Does this leg and arm feel more stable up in the air? Does the leg and knee on the ground feel, and hand on the ground feel more stable on the side, less stable? Where are your patterns for asymmetry? Feel your core. Relax your neck. Take a deep breath in, lengthen. Exhale, elbow and knee come underneath. Inhale, cactus out to the side. Exhale, back to center. One more time, each side. Stretch long. Exhale, coming in. Out to the sides. This is a weird movement. Exhale, back in. Inhale, straighten that arm and leg out in the air. Place the hand and knee down. Dog pose. Stretch up. Seek symmetry. Enjoy. When you're ready, lift your right leg up in the air. Exhale, bring that foot through. Coming to a lunge. Extend through the spine. Begin to straighten and bend your knee as much as you want. All right, finding the lunge. When you're ready, rise up. Bring your arms out to the sides. Find the breath. Extend through the spine. We're going to twist over to the right. Drop the shoulders so it doesn't matter how, we don't have to have our arms on the long line of the mat. Just go where you are. Hug to the midline with your legs. Lift your crown. Back to center. Arms come up. Find your breath. Leave your right arm up. Wait, I'm sorry. Left arm up. Leave your left arm up and stretch your right arm down. Extend through the spine and then lean forward. Keep your arms in that place. Place both hands down onto the ground. Back foot comes forward. Fold. Feel the symmetry. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step back, dog pose. Feel the symmetry again. Inhale, left leg comes on up. Exhale, bring that foot through. Ground yourself. Blocks are nice if you need them. Start to wake up the legs, straightening and bending the front knee, coming into that state of awakening of the hamstrings, the hip flexors. Find your breath. Are there still cathedrals inside your sinuses? Are you still seeking the midline somewhere? Maybe your tongue against the back of the teeth, maybe paying attention to the heart or the third eye or anywhere. Maybe it's the pelvic floor. Find something that's center. And then rise up. Arms come out to the sides. Find your breath. Get wide. Seek the midline with your inner thighs. Breathing deeply. When you're ready, twisting to the side. Don't worry about trying to get your arms in line with your mat. Just bring your arms out from your chest wherever you twist. Reach the crown, soften the shoulders. Try not to do this pose with your neck. Do it with your legs. Feel the grounding. Okay, rise all the way back up. 2 arms to begin. Find your breath. And then release the left arm down. Right arm stays up. Find the center line of your spine. Lean forward, extend both arms, find your breathing. Release the hands down onto the ground. Step your front foot back. Breathe well. Come down onto your knees. Let's come back onto our back. We're going to do a little up and down today. Okay. Put your block, grab a block, and stick it between your legs. It could be right between your knees or between your thighs, wherever you're in a happy place with the block. We're going to bring our arms out to the sides like a T. Bring your knees up. And you might, I sometimes do this with the block this way, sometimes skinny way, sometimes middle way. You discover what's best for you today. Okay. Find your breathing. We're going to cross the knees to the left. And then inhale and cross the knees to the right. So where do you want to inhale? Where do you want to exhale? There's no rights or wrongs. You need core support the whole way. Try to decide how far over to each side. So you can bring your knees all the way to your elbow, or you can bring your knees like 1 inch past the midline. So just try to be symmetrical on your two sides as you go left and right. And we're using our core to do this action. So stabilize yourself, hug the block. Turn your head if you can in opposition of the knees. Try not to let the core release too much. All right, which side did you start on? I started on my right, so I'm gonna finish on my left. And then bring your knees back to center, tabletop. So, boy, I just handily have a table to rest my feet on, but try not to do that. So you're just in air, okay? Bring the arms up in the sky. Find the breath. Cross the left arm over the right. Either hold your shoulders or eagle your arms. Find the breathing. And then switch. Cross. Hold on to your shoulders or find your eagle arms. All right, and then relax. Take the block out of there. Everything stretches just open and wide. Starfish your body out. Exhale, knees into the chest, chin up. Put your feet down onto the ground. Cross right thigh over left thigh. Let's just stretch our hips first. So just enjoy. Bring your knees toward your chest. Get a good hip stretch here. Find the length of your spine. Okay, and then stretch everything out. Switch sides. Left knee on top of right knee. Draw the knees in. Feel the length of the spine. Enjoy stretching your hip. Breathing deeply. And then unwind. Starfish your body out. Stretch those hip flexors. Let them open up. And then exhale. Feet onto the ground. Cross your right thigh over your left thigh. Cross your left arm over your right arm. Either come into eagle arms or cross your hands to hold your opposite shoulder. So whatever feels better for your body. Take a deep breath. Lift your feet off the floor. So tabletop your legs again. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, we're going to come up. Try to touch elbows and knees toward each other. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale to touch. Using your core. Squeeze the legs. Relax the neck. 2 more. All right, and then relax. Everything opens up. Decide whether that was a happy thing for your neck. And if it wasn't, if you had a hard time not letting the neck do the work, when we do this next side, you're going to keep your head down on the ground. Cross left thigh over right thigh. Cross right arm over left arm. And either hold shoulders or hook your hands like eagle pose. Take a deep breath. When you're ready, lift your feet up off the ground. Tabletop your knees over hips. Find your breath. Exhale. Your head can stay down. You can still do this work with your head down, but if you can, pick up the head. Exhale. Everything comes into the center. Inhale away. Exhale in. 2 more. Squeeze the legs. Okay, unwind. Arms and legs come out. Stretch into bigness, stretch into symmetry. And then when you're ready, roll over onto your side. Which side do you always roll? Go the other way. And come up onto your hands and your knees. Find a cat-cow. Feeling into the movement of your spine. And then curl your toes under. Symmetry, dog pose. Seek the midline. Melt. All right, take your legs wide to the edges of the mat. Turn your toes in. Extend through your spine again. Heart toward the hips. All right, and then come back to center. Let's bring our right foot forward to come into a lunge. Plant your back knee down onto the ground, unless you don't want to do that. Just try to stretch the hip flexors after that work. Rise up, 2 arms, and we're going to come into a twist. So there's so many variations here. You can take your forearm on your knee. You can take your elbow to your knee and cross your hand over. You can have your hand on a block or on the floor. You can lift your back knee up. So find the twist that feels right for your body right now. Enjoy the length of the spine. Enjoy the hip flexor opening in that back leg. Breathe your way. Hug to the midline. And then release and relax. Come back either onto all fours, child's pose, dog pose, whatever feels good. We're going to find our way to the other side. So left foot is coming forward, right knee is down. Maybe for you, your right knee is up. You decide how you want to be. Enjoy the openness of the back leg, hip flexors. Rise up, find your breath, and then decide where your twist on this side is going to be. If you can, make it symmetrical, not symmetrical, make it balanced to what the other side did. So if you have your forearm on your knee, maybe try that for this side. If you have your hand down, whatever you did on the other side, try to repeat. Hug to the midline. Breathe. Shoulders are relaxed. Try not to do everything with your neck. And then relax and melt. Lift your back knee up. Turn sideways on your mat. Posarita, so big wide stance. Find your breathing. You can always put your blocks underneath your hands if you need some height. Put your right hand in the center. Inhale, left arm up to the sky. Exhale and release. Change sides, other arm up. Exhale and release. Repeat one more time. Keep the legs balanced, the pelvis balanced as much as you can. You can always keep your hand on your hip. Shoulders are away from the ears. Spread into the feet. Inner thighs rolling back, sit bones wide, soft knees. Melt and come back. It's a little awkward trying to twist, so sometimes twists are a little restricted. So be here, just be where you are. Try not to move from your neck, move from your breath, move from your core. All right, and then come back. Walk your hands out like dog pose. Enjoy the symmetry of this posture, the wideness of your legs. Maybe your arms want to go wider too. Breathe into space. Relax your neck. All right, let's walk our hands back to the front of the mat, feet to the back of the mat, dog pose. Deep breaths here. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Come forward into a plank. Enjoy these moments of symmetry and finding that it's not easy to be in a plank, but it's clear lines. So feel into those clear lines. Find your breath. And then when you're ready, find the ground. All right, so a little bit of weird movements. Curl your toes under, lift your thighs, and get your legs a little wider. First, just lift your legs up, turn your glutes on. Make sure everything's active. And then exhale and release. You can bring your legs that wide, or I'm going to bring them a little closer. You decide where you want to be. So listen closely. Arms start down at your sides. Take a deep breath in. We're going to swing the left arm out to the side, up in front. Lift right leg and left arm. Exhale, swing it back. Try not to lift. I just lifted my head too much. See if you can keep the other side. So sweep the right arm out. Left leg comes up. Keep the neck in line with the rest of the spine. Exhale and come down. Repeat on the other side. Swing that arm around. Lift it up. Leg up. Neck long. Exhale. Come back round. Last time this side. Breathing. Exhale and come back. Relax for a moment. Now, if your shoulders are okay, if your back is okay, bring your arms out in front of you. If your shoulders are not okay with overhead movements, bring your arms next to you. We're going to lift everything up and just go left, right. The best way to do this is to not think so much about it. You can go very slowly if you want, where you consciously lift the left arm and the right leg and then switch, or you can just switch into that kind of unconscious knowing that we use when we walk, okay, where you're just left, right, left, right, left, right. Focus on the core, stabilize your body. The back body and the front body are working. How is your breath? Neck is long. All right, and then relax. Come up onto all fours. That was a lot for your back, a lot of back core work. So swish that spine around, maybe wag your tail, move your hips from left to right, maybe some circles. Breathe your way here. And find your way to dog pose. Bend your knees as much as you want. Take your feet as wide as you want. Deep breath. Feel the center, third eye, heart, tongue behind teeth, belly breath, pelvic floor. Maybe hugging to the midline with your feet or your legs or your hands. Seek all the places you can find that midline. All right, and then walk your feet forward. Come into Uttanasana. Bend your knees a lot. Shake your spine. Shake your head. Wag your tail. And then when you're ready, climb up to stand. Can't do left, right hemisphere work without some balancing poses. So feel first into this sense of Tadasana. Let your blood pressure equalize. Bring your hands together at your heart. Your feet can be hip width apart. Your feet can be together, really wide, whatever feels good. So experiment with what's going, where do you want your hands? At your heart, higher up toward your throat, at your third eye. Find just the sweet spot for you to be very comfortable with grounding into the center. Also ground into the earth. When you breathe, let your diaphragm release, your pelvic floor, your knees, the soles of your feet kind of go down the elevator, all the way to the soles of the feet. Let things release, yield. All right, a little core support on the exhales. Release the belly on the inhales. Stand on your right foot. Lift your left knee up. Arms come out to the sides. And let's twist in this direction. So we're turning to the left. Drop your shoulders. You can always have your hands on your hips. You do not have to have them out to the side. Maybe one, and the opposite one holds your hip. Breathing well. Reach through your crown. Hug into that hip you're standing on, soften the knee. How's your breath? Relax your shoulders. And then come back and find the ground again. Standing on your left foot, bring that right knee up, arms come out to the side. Find your breath. Let's twist. All right, so hands can be out, hands can be on the hip, one hand can be on the hip, hands can be at your heart, wherever finds you most aligned and stable. Try not to let your hip hike out, hug it in, soften your knee, ground, and as you root, rise up through your crown. Relax your shoulders, steady your breath. Okay, and then release and enjoy your feet. Okay, bounce a little bit. Okay, now run in place. And you don't have to go very high, but just feel this hemisphere work. Okay, of lifting one and lifting the other. You don't even need to leave your floor. You can just, imagine that you're running. Okay, so just depending on what your knees and ankles and everything feel like today, find your breath. All right, let's walk back as far as you can in your space. And we're just gonna, toy soldier this for a moment. So one knee up, other arm. Okay, so simple. And if you can't walk like I'm walking forward, you can always just stand in place. Now go backwards, same pathway. Backwards walking is one of those unfamiliar movements that you can do. So if you're out on the walk sometime, try walking backwards. The most fun place to walk backwards is at the airport on the long people movers. Just turn around and walk backwards on those so you don't go anywhere. It's very fun and it's a really good workout for your hamstrings and glutes. And it'll give you that unfamiliar feeling. Walking backwards, you don't have eyes back there. So it's a lot of proprioceptive skill to trust walking backwards. So try that. That's your yoga homework for the week. Okay. Come back to center. Take a deep breath in. Deep breath away. Root into your right foot. Pick up your left and cross it over. Because our left leg is on top, we're going to bring our right arm on top. If you need support, like my ankle still can't support me very well in balance poses, so if you need support, you can always stick your butt against a wall or a piece of furniture for this posture. Find your way into eagle pose. Squeeze the midline. Squeeze, 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 lift the crown. Let your gaze focus on your forearms. Feel that symmetry of your wide peripheral vision. Feel your lungs expand outward, left and right. Lift your heart. Relax your neck. And then unwind, standing star. And then release. Second side. Once again, if you need the support, you can always lean your bottom against a piece of furniture or a wall. We're standing on our left leg. Cross the right leg over. Try not to let the hips turn. We're staying centered. You don't have to hook your foot. Your foot can be hanging out there. So wherever your body goes, because our right leg's on top, we're putting our left arm on top. You can always grab onto your shoulders like we did on the floor. If binding your arms in eagle is too hard, drop your weight down. Chair pose. Lift your chest. Squeeze to the midline. Squeeze. And when you squeeze to the midline, expand your rib cage. Think back to those, core work we did in this pose on the floor. Okay, and then unwind, standing star, open the breath, enjoy your space. All right, and then turn sideways on the mat. Legs get wide again and come down to dog pose arms. Let the spine stretch, open the armpits up. Deep breath here. Okay, and then come into a very wide squat. Okay, elbows can come on the knees or inside of the knees. Feel the symmetry here. Spread open the feet, ground through the big toes, the heels. Open the breath. Okay, and come on up. Standing star. All right, and then find your way down to the ground. Okay, so we're gonna come onto our back. Rest for a moment. Let your body kind of find its way on the floor. We're not ready for rest yet. This is still working, but we're down now. Okay, so bring the arms, hands. If you were here on Monday, I did this with a muscle release ball underneath me, a squishy muscle release ball. So if you have one of these and you want to use it, you can always put this underneath your pelvis, very deflated. But if you have one of these Gertie balls and you put it underneath your pelvis, it becomes an uneven surface. And this is way more core work. So that's a fun thing to try if you have one of these. So just a very deflated MR ball underneath your sacrum. But if we're on the ground, okay, find your breath. I'm gonna switch my body long ways here. Bring your hands straight up in the air and bring your knees up in the air. Reverse tabletop. Find your breath. We're gonna tap, let's just start with the legs. Tap the left toes or heel, you choose, and then back up. Match the legs and then tap the right. Find your breath. Okay, now come into neutral. All right, we're going to lift the left arm over our head while we tap the right toe down and then back to center. Tap the left foot, right arm comes up overhead and then back to center. Try to do this in isolation. So, you might get to the place where you kind of want to move your arms and legs willy-nilly like bicycles, but see if you can stay pretty steady in this action. Okay, so whatever arm, whoops, I'm going opposite. Whatever, you're just doing oppositional work, okay? Breathe. We're gonna switch this in a minute, but for now, this is what we're doing. Left heel or toe touches while right arm lifts overhead. All right, and then relax. Bring your knees into your chest and rock, swaying from side to side. All right, put your feet down onto the ground for a moment. Relax. The last thing we're going to do is a little bit different. So straighten both legs up in the air. This, I think a lot of you have done. Interlace your hands behind your head. You can do this with bent knees. They do not have to be straight, okay? We're going to drop right leg, lift right chest, come back to center, drop left leg, lift left chest. So we're crossing. We're doing everything now. We're doing asymmetrical work, like left arm and right leg. And we're not totally crossing the midline, but we're working toward crossing the midline. The energy is to cross with the chest over past the midline. Make sure you're breathing. You can do this with bent knees. It's a lot easier for the core. So if you need to stabilize your spine, you can even do this with your feet on the floor and just lift your knee toward your elbow. So there's ways to back off. There's ways to deepen. Breathing well. Try not to yank on your neck. Remember, your hands are there as a pillow for your head. Breathing well. All right, and then relax. Once you do the second side, knees to chest, rock a little bit. Grab your block. Put it underneath your pelvis, lower middle height, whatever feels good. Feet on the ground. And just rest. Rest in symmetry. Put your arms and legs wherever you want them. So you can straighten your legs if you want. Heels down on the ground. You can have your feet on the ground. You can lift your legs straight up in the air. And same, even you can have different positions with your legs. You can also have different positions with your arms. Arms can be down, arms can be out, arms can be cactus, arms can be overhead. So find what your body's looking for, staying in symmetry. Breathe into whatever you're doing. Let the hip flexors, the belly open up and be free. All right, and then go ahead and lift off of that block, knees to your chest, rock a little bit. Maybe happy baby pose, maybe just stay rocking, whatever feels good. And then we're going to find Shavasana as you're ready. Now, perhaps you want to put your calves up on the couch or a chair. Perhaps you want your legs to be supported with a bolster or a block under your knees. Maybe you want to be flat. Maybe you want your limbs to go really wide away from the midline. So experiment with what is your best position right now. And when you come into resting on the floor, seek symmetry. Seek this midline. Allow yourself to relax. Imagine, we're not doing alternate nostril breathing, but imagine again that feeling of the breath really swirling through your sinuses, expanding two sides of your lungs. Your breath is deep and full. Rest your body down. Your head is very heavy on the ground. Your limbs are very heavy. Let's begin to deepen our breathing again. As you pay attention to your breath, see if you can feel the sense that your left and right sides of your nose are both breathing. Your left and right sinuses are both receiving. The left and right lungs are both filling. As you breathe in, feel a sense of expanding away from the midline. And as you breathe out, feel a sense of condensing toward the midline. Let's find movement as you're ready. Come onto your side. Come up to sit as you're ready. Hands together at your heart. Seek the center. Seek the balance. Offer this balance outward. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. Hope you have a wonderful day.